Hello and welcome to the third video for today. Today still is Monday the 1st of August 2016. It is currently 1824 hours Central European time. I'll try to keep this video relatively brief in spite of its title, which might sound like a longer video. This is what the title says it is, just that I'll approach the topic a little differently than you might envision. I assume that you have watched at least the one earlier video for today to Faex Mundi IG's Decision Makers, Mind Control. Ideally you are familiar with more of my videos. So as I established today, that all of the willing executioners of a wide variety of interest groups of Faex Mundi that's F-A-E-X-M-U-N-D-I, that's Latin and stands for Filth of the World. And they are split up in a lot of interest groups, and what makes them Filth of the World is that all of them have in common that they use Inhumane Technologies to mind control and manipulate people and so on. Basically these controls can operate remotely, also the nervous system whole, which really means that this is not just thought control, but this is also giving people physical torture and so on and so forth. That is why these technologies are called Inhumane Technologies. The topic is that after decades and decades and decades and decades and decades of these technologies being used out there, we have arrived, and not just today, I just figured it today and I want to share this information. The state of global mind control 2016 is the following. Apparently, practically all IGs, interest groups, once more, IGs means interest groups, there's a wide variety of them. Some of them are, call it political, that might not be the most perfect word for them, but call them political. Some of them are religious, all flavors, real crazy people. Some of them have pseudo-scientific, mumbo-jumbo science fiction background. There's a wide variety of what people delude about concerning these Inhumane Technologies. So all of these IGs have apparently one thing in common, namely they allowed their willing executioners, those they send out to do shit, to completely and utterly go corrupt. And when I say corrupt, I don't mean for money, although I'm sure they earn pretty good money. What I mean with corrupt is they have completely betrayed their own IGs. See, I have said in the past how a lot of IGs, a long time ago already, I mean in this here former country of Austria, this has been going for easily 40 years, how hereabouts it would be the Abwehramt, which is a part of the ex-Austrian army that is responsible for this, how they have selected only filth to be in that job. So the interest groups wanted and recruited and filtered filth to operate as their willing executioners. I guess the idea was that, and then we'll have filth using Inhumane Technologies against the masses that are to be subjected and manipulated, which I guess to the decision makers then seemed like a good concept. Just that we have long arrived at the point where, you know, I mean, them being filth, they are filth. And they don't just treat those that they subject like filth, they also treat their own bosses like filth, I assure you, because the idiot bosses of the IGs have gone and recruited filth. Okay? And for the willing execution of filth out there, I want to point out that being filth is no excuse for being filth. Hard as you might find to believe that. Not even towards your own bosses once they come into understanding of what you actually have been doing for the longest time, and let alone when it comes to me, right? Because being filth has nothing to do with genetics. Being filth has nothing to do with archetypes that I mentioned in some of my recent videos. Being filth is just being filth. And it is true that you were hand-selected and brought up for your entire lives, because it's been going for decades. They worked on you to get you to that degree of filth, but that is no excuse for you being filth. I just want you to understand that. But I want to understand the IG bosses, who unfortunately don't get to see these videos. I am aware of that. This is hypothetically for the future, for some of them to see. And maybe for some independent players out there who might have, such as YouTube/Google/Alphabet, or other people in this industry of computer IT, whatnot, who might have the chance to actually bypass the usual suspect services and willing executioners and go straight to the actual bosses of the interest groups and let them know what is going on. See, the very idea, you see, the problem with interest groups bosses is that at the end of the day, for all practical purposes, they decided to subject all mankind and manipulate all mankind for whatever crazy reasons that each of these individual IGs might have, and those reasons differ from IG to IG. But the funny thing is, they seem to all have in common that they didn't want to be bothered with it themselves. You know, I mean, the very idea that you want to subject all mankind and manipulate all mankind, but want nothing to do with it personally. You know, that you can't be asked to get personally involved, and be it to keep a controlling eye on your own willing executioners that you task with the job of doing that. That is, wow. I mean, you really must be royal or religious leader of whatever sense, or to be in that category. We just decree, well, go ye out there, ye filth, and subject mankind, but don't get me involved, you know, I can't be buttered with that. Well, this is what you get. So, and when I want to touch back on explaining to the leaders of the interest groups out there, not to their willing executioners, how their willing executioners are corrupted. See, here it's getting interesting, because until today, I always thought that the willing executioners are representative of their IGs, to the extent that when I had lurchies sick of me first. Lurchies are religious extremists. That comes from church floor lurching, or temple floor lurching, mosque floor lurching, synagogue floor lurching, whatever, okay? Lurchies, those are religious crazies. I always thought that when I had lurchies sick of me, that was from the lurchy IGs, until I figured today that the truth is really, all of these willing executioners out there may very, very well be deluding in a way different from their actual IG's delusions, which means that you might have willing executioners that are out of IGs that are lurching, but who themselves are all but lurchies, who might instead buy into the pseudoscience of it or whatnot, and the other way around, and there's all possible combinations there. Which means that the IGs themselves might be surprised that what they themselves delude in their heads might not at all be what their willing executioners delude in their heads. Matter of fact, their willing executioners have probably started to find it very funny to keep their leaders in their delusions with the scenario app and so on and so forth. Because they themselves think, oh, they know what it's really all about. Well, they don't have fucking notion about anything. They're just as badly deluding, just that they're deluding in a different flavor than the actual bosses of the IG, than their actual IG, okay? Even that is legitimate to be called corrupted. I want you people out there to understand that. I want all of you religious leaders and all of the religious IGs to understand that your very willing executioners that you task with doing shit for you might very well not at all be of that lurching flavor as you are. And I don't just mean not to quite the extent, I mean at all. Not at all. They might be lurching about something completely different. I mean, not lurching, but not in a religious context. They might be deluding about something completely different. So the state of mind control 2016. See, I mean, once more, all of this has to do with the anti-life equation. The anti-life equation the goal of the anti-life equation is to do away with mankind. And when it comes to inhumane technology, the goal was to make sure that every Tom, Dick, and Harry got access to inhumane technology, which is the case you have out there today, with any private sector company people and whatnot being given access to this, right? So first step, make sure that inhumane technologies are available to goddamn anybody. And the second step is make sure you got nothing but filth operating them. And that is the ideal way to get rid of mankind. Where it comes to the armed services, not just of the US, but generally, here unfortunately another aspect of in this particular case it is the bitch queens working their shit, but coming from a religious inclination in this particular case, the bitch queens interweave their one IG, though they interweave with a lot of other IGs, which is unfortunate, especially where bitch queens bring a bit of lurchy background, religious background. They try to do away with actual warriors, as in actual true soldiers, and instead have nothing but practically mercenaries and outright murderers and people who are absolutely wrong material to be utilized in a uniform. And they have succeeded with that decades ago, and today there's practically no real warrior left in a uniform in the world, anywhere in the world, and especially not in those branches of the armed services that have to do with these technologies. Okay, so getting rid of any true warriors and having nothing but filth in their stead also aided to that, and that came out of the bitch queen approach of doing things. I once more want to address any independent players in this. I know that there are people messing with my videos on YouTube. To whichever extent, I have proven how the sound is being exchanged on certain videos, none of mine. I don't regularly rewatch all 130, I think it is now, of my videos. I have no way of telling if they messed with the sounds in my video, because I'd have to rewatch every single video every single day. But I have a case, and I mentioned it in one of the videos actually, where I have proven that they actually mess with the audio in the videos so that it actually says something completely different than was actually said, and so on and so forth. So you people out there might not get all of my videos displayed. They might be sound edited. They might of course be cut simply. Even if they didn't sound edited, they might just cut shit out there. They might actually, it is quite a bit of material now, they could actually puzzle together all new videos that I never recorded and put it online. So if some of that involves staff of YouTube / Google / Alphabet / whatever, that has nothing directly to do with the willing executioners, once more I kindly ask you in the interest of mankind, because see, I want to once more explain how this is about all mankind. I mean, how do I explain that? It's not just the Inhumane Technologies. I've explained in my past videos how even the passive working effects and them just wanting to be able to read the minds of the people and extract out of them and shove shit into them on a general issue basis already is horrendous. I've explained that in the past. But so it's not just these placed in people's heads in general routines that do in mankind. It is actually that way that all individual IGs apparently have completely and utterly lost control of their working end, namely their willing executioners, who have completely corrupted and who ally amongst one another to cover for one another. Okay? To cover their own deeds, to keep living in the situation where they can fuck up their bosses, because their bosses can't be asked to get involved. Sorry there, and all of this because they are useless filth. Right? This is not me accusing them of being inhumans or something. They're useless filth. Mankind goes to the dogs because corrupt, useless filth in the ranks of the willing executioners of the IGs. Not even because of the deliberate doing of the IG brass, so to speak. No. As of today, I learned that in most cases that is not so. There might still be some IGs out there where, and namely especially all of those lurchies who do want to bring about the end of mankind, who, and there are such out there, once more I assure you, and they are doing a pretty darn good job on that, just for completeness sake, who are aware of this ongoing and who enjoy this ongoing, as I explained before, the thinking behind it, right? I just once more want to point out that all the people who attack me and do something against me are corrupt filth. From the perspective of their own IGs, all of them. Whether they come out of US Armed Services background, whether they come out of the fucking lurchy churches that you have out there, whether those be American lurchy churches or crazy sects hereabout, whether they come from the RCC orbit as they do hereabouts in Europe, whether they come from a royal background, whatnot, with the bitch queens involved there again. Somebody out there needs to understand that mankind is not just going to the dogs generally because of Inhumane Technologies and what they have done to mankind over decades and decades and decades, but that even the IGs of Faex Mundi, even Faex Mundi whole, has completely lost control because the bosses can't be asked and are completely ridiculed. And when I say ridiculed, I mean with the aid of mind-fucking technology. Once more, not just lied in a classic sense, but the willing executioners do fuck the minds of their bosses. And I want the bosses to understand that. And I want all the independent people out there to understand that they need to tell the bosses. I tried to contact the bitch queens yesterday, actually 2 days ago, 30th of July, for Kitty and the bitch queens. I will, after I finish recording this video, I will once more try to send emails to CIA and whatnot, controlled as they all are, and kindly ask them to forward that video to Kitty Watson, because I am sure that the NSA and ilk will keep Kitty Watson from seeing this, and be it by blocking the video, by blocking my attempt to contact her. I did leave her some comments on YouTube. At the Intellect videos, I posted a comment. I did contact her, I tried to anyhow, via Intellect's website. They have a contact form there. I tried it there. I will try some services to forward that so that the bitch queens get to see this, because as I said, the bitch queens are involved in everything, and if once the bitch queens start to understand the situation, then maybe the bitch queens start to understand that they have to change something about their completely corrupt and renegade, like a better word, willy executioners, who are really running things. They keep you in a delusion. They keep you in your, it doesn't cost them anything to keep you in your delusions, you bosses. You are completely fucked up. And I cannot believe that there are not some amongst you bosses of the IGs of Faex Mundi who would find that okay. I mean, or not okay, depending on how you look at this, who would not take issue over that. I understand how you recruited and hand-bred filth to serve for that function, but the problem is, you hire filth, you get filth. Namely, filth that is always universally filth. And the way filth behaves, if filth cooperates with one another, across all IG's barriers, unbeknownst to the leaders of the IGs. That is what you need to understand. That is the state of global mind control in Inhumane Technologies 2016. That is the condition. That even the bosses, and that is a very theoretic term concerning what is going on out there, even the bosses and the brass of the IGs of Faex Mundi have completely lost control over their willing executioners and can't be asked to bother much themselves personally. That is unacceptable. And to them, once more, if I ever come to hold judgment over one of you bosses, as of today we've reached a point where even you should understand that this is not about me just not sharing your crazy ideas. Because this is a matter of principle as of today. It does not bloody matter what IG you are and what you represent, whether you're coming from a lurchy background or from something political or from a caste-like idea of how society ought to be or whatnot. You allowed filth to take over control. And that is completely unacceptable no matter who you are or what you represent. Right? So you're whining when I will hold, especially hereabouts in Europe, should I live to see that day, and should mankind survive and see that day, you will not be able to bring forth excuses how, oh, this is just because you disagree, you're making us into a politicum. No, nothing about this is a politicum. You are allowing mankind to go extinct because you cannot be asked to keep your willing executioners in control and under check. And that is simply unacceptable. And the filth, once more, being filth is no excuse for being filth. End of story. Your cooperating amongst one another is unspeakable from any IG's point of view. And of course, even from my point of view as the prime protector of mankind. I want you to understand that, and I tried briefly to think through your reaction when your bosses do find out about that. And I must admit, to a certain extent, I didn't really wind up anywhere, because that situation, oh gee, you'll be in the shit. You'll be so in the shit you have no idea, and for all the right reasons, and that is wonderful. So there's this little video. Somebody do something. Thank you. Especially also, once more, the independent players. Try to let know of the ongoings. Point out to my video. See that they... Right now, this is the 131st video I record. So when I load this up, I will have 131 videos on. Now, even if it says that number, as I said before, you might see crap videos that I never put there. Forged videos, fake videos, whatnot, and so on. But that is because YouTube is being messed with, and there should be, especially in this IT industry, that maybe the IT industry players, and I know that you all bow to partially the NSA and some other, unfortunately, being California for the most part, very crazy IGs, but maybe some of you get Oracle out of the clutches of the NSA, and maybe some of you can do some form a new, even if you don't have access to these technologies, I mean Inhumane Technologies, form a new IG, just, a Silicon Valley IG or something like that, and try to be an information broker and not for money, but because it's the right thing. Inform all the leaders of the IGs, do yourself some hacking, some research. You should have the amount of data necessary for that, to find out who the actual bosses of the IGs are, and let them know that their willing executioners and running completely rogue are absolutely corrupt filth who cover for one another's incompetences, who suppress my truth here for 3.5 years, who suppress my role, who suppress the state of that mankind is in, completely irregardless of me, who keep their bosses in utter delusions. Okay? Set free the bosses of Faex Mundi's anger and wrath over their own incompetent, useless filth that are their willing executioners. And even if that happens in uniform, yes. Because especially in uniform, you should not ever be like that. You should not fucking behave like the Abwehramt here in ex-Austria. And yet, half of fucking NSA behaves practically like the fucking Abwehramt hereabouts. And that should not be. And the nice thing is, it need not be. Believe this or not. And that can be changed. So, somebody do something. And once more, I need money. Thank you.